Well, I used the Awesome Activator for a project that the students do to research their own family ancestry. We do it as part of a history unit on the last half of the 1800s, specifically focusing on the immigration influx that happened during that time. They had to individually pick some biblical truths, connect those in the little word web with the project. So when you think about a family relating together, this student wrote, I can help other people in my family when they have sad or mad emotions or celebrate when they're happy.
Uh-huh.
And another one is, God has a purpose for my family to teach me right or wrong. And then one more that I really liked was the truth, everything good comes from God. So that includes you and your family.
Great. How do you think that the Awesome Activator as a tool in general serves to help students to get a biblical view of work?
I really appreciate the Awesome Activator because without it, a lot of assignments can seem purely academic. Some kids don't connect with a certain topic or a subject, and the Awesome Activator always gives each individual child a way to connect. They see the bigger picture. They see God's purpose, and it gives kids more motivation. They seem more excited about it. They seem more interested, and even if they're not super interested in it, definitely more willing and understanding the purpose of it.
What I hear you describing here is a way to help to bring greater meaning to the work that they are actually doing.
Absolutely. A part of the rest of the Awesome Activator is talking about what skills you are going to need to learn and actions you're going to take. Developing their writing ability and developing their ability to speak in front of people is something that God wants them to learn.
Mrs. Greer, let's talk a little bit about your experience then. Tell us how you use the Awesome Activator.
We were studying Africa. They already had completed a chapter on Egypt and ancient times in Africa. This current chapter was on modern day Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And we do a project where the kids take an African country and they design their own web page. To give this project meaning, I started it with the Awesome Activator. We did it as a group, and I prepared an Awesome Activator on my own the weekend before presenting it, coming up with the ideas that I was hoping that they would come up with, just as a base to start. And they blew me away. I was so excited when I sat down with them. We filled the whiteboard. They found all of their own ideas, which included mine, and then some. We discussed this probably for 40 minutes. They were into it, and they were enjoying it, and they were excited, and it just became contagious across the room. It was fun.
How does this exercise? How do these exercises help shape their view of work?
I think both of our activities require a lot of work, a lot of research, a lot of digging for facts, and in your case, digging for family history. Right. It's not something that's done in a day or an hour. It's something that our project has lasted about 2.5 weeks. We're still wrapping it up this week, actually. So,
ours will take a month.
But it's about an attitude toward this work. It was, you give them a project where there's lots of research or there's lots of writing. Writing. That's work.
Yeah, that's what, you mean you're actually making your kids work? What
I know. But if you start with this, their attitude toward the work changes. It's not, another project.
Why do you think that is? What's going on in their heads? Why are they coming alive here?
I think they see the connection. I think they see that what they're doing is pleasing and honoring to God. And when they understand that, hey, this is not just an activity, this is something I can do that's going to please God, their attitude changes. The meaning behind it changes. And it's not about, this is hard work. It's about, wow, this is great work I can do for God.
Yeah, I think that's huge. I mean, it brings it out of the classroom into a much bigger picture here, as we always say. I think that's very, very significant.
It's the thing that I've loved about this theology of work study from the beginning. It's changed my personal life and how I approach coming into the classroom every day and how I approach going home to my kitchen. And so I share that with the students too, and we talk about it in brief ways throughout the day when I help to remind them that they're not just sitting in a desk, going through motions, doing what someone tells them to do. They are part of a bigger picture. Their lives are part of a big purpose that God has for them, and everything they do, God has a purpose for, and they can either do it for God's purpose and for God's glory, or they're doing it, or they're doing what they want to do, and they're doing something for themselves, and then they're not fitting into God's kingdom, God's purpose. And as soon as you put it in that context, they're with you.
And I take it that when you say that this has had a personal effect on your thinking, that you're actually thinking that way too when you're doing the laundry. Is that what you're saying?
It's really changed my life in general. My purpose in everything that I do and my relationship with the Lord has changed as I think about the theology of how I do everything I do.
I think it has a lot to do with intentionality, doesn't it? You know, you're actually bringing these things to the conscious level, making those awesome activator connections, so to speak, between that activity and the purposes of God behind doing laundry or whatever it is.
We have a rigorous academic program here, but all that rigor has to point towards something, and our students need to see that it has meaning and relevance, that we're not just pushing them to work hard for no reason.
Yes.
And they're beginning to understand that we're helping them to be prepared for God's kingdom, to be used by God in whatever purpose that He calls them for.
Yes.
So they're reacting to that, and they're seeing the meaning of that. And we hear from the parents how glad they are. They recognize what was going on in our classrooms without us really talking about it much. Parents began to notice that things were different, and they began to notice that their children were coming home with new skills. And so they came to us and said, what is going on that has caused these kinds of conversations that we're hearing in our home? So we had to do a better job of communicating to them what we were doing here so they could understand it better.